Hi, I'm B. Moore, and I have no idea how to start this. This is the first in a video series I am calling O Requests. It's a super clever name. I think I deserve a lot of credit for that. It'll probably be really popular based on that alone. The idea for this video series is that I take a sample recommended by somebody and I make a beat out of it, regardless of what the sample is. The stupider the better. I just kind of wanted to do a beat making videos, but I don't want to do necessarily tutorials and stuff like that. There's plenty of shit like that out there. I'm not a good teacher. I'm not even a good student. C-. So if you've seen me out in the world doing shows the past 4 or 5 years, you've probably seen me with this guy. This is my SP404. He's a trusty little fella. We had a lot of fun together. But he's pretty fucked. Recently, I decided to get a new one. Brand new shiny one. See that? I gotta clean those pads look. That's not gonna last long. So I've made a couple little beats with it here and there, little bumps as we call them, but I haven't made a full beat. So I figured today would be the perfect day to christen my new machine, so to speak, with a beat made by me right now. And I'm going to be doing it in resample mode, which means I won't be using any of the SP's built-in sequencing capabilities. I will just be recording loops, adding other sounds on top of that, recording that loop, and so on until we have a beat. So I asked people for suggestions of possible samples like 3-4 months ago. Everyone's forgot about this. I decided, instead of picking one at random this time, I would pick one from someone that we know, a very supportive member of the hip-hop community in general, everyone's favorite super fan, Ralphie Coleman. He's a great guy. He suggested that I make a beat from Puff the Magic Dragon. Alright. So the very first step, obviously, is finding the sample. Puff the Magic Dragon, that's a little vague. That's the kind of thing where there's like a million different versions of the same song. So that gives me some options in what we're doing here. So I guess let's just go through and find, look at a couple different versions and see what sounds cool. See what we're working with. Alright.
Puff the magic dragon lived by the sea and frolicked.
That's what we're working with. Alright, so step one is just going to be the recording of the sample. Let's just pick an empty pad. I'm recording this right through my phone because, I love to make vinyl purists happy. Sick.
Puff the magic
Let's get a little bit of the vocal in there. We might use that.
by the sea and frolicked in the autumn mist in a land called Halloween.
Alright, that's enough of that. Alright, now we got the sample recorded on a pad. That's alright. So it's got a lot of low end in there. We're gonna clean some of that up. MFX13. I don't know exactly what that stands for. I think it's motherfucking effects. This is just a little band EQ, 3-band EQ. We're gonna roll off some of the lows, maybe turn up some of the other ones a bit. Maybe a little mids off the middle. Take a little mid off the middle. That should be good for now. So now we'll resample it and do a new pad with our new effects. And this is just kind of a mixing thing. I don't have to do this, but you know, I don't want everything to sound like total garbage. Okay. Now it's on the new pad with a little, here, let's do before and after. A lot of low end going on there. That one's a lot more cleaned up. It's quieter too, but that will serve us later once we start adding compression and shit and boost those levels back up, boost them up. Alright, so the next thing we're going to want to do is add, I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can go about the next part. A lot of people like to do drums first, layer melody on top of that, vice versa. You can do both at once, have a melody on one pad, playing drums down here. I think today what feels good for the moment is I think we're just gonna do drums beforehand and we'll layer the main sample over it and go from there. So I have some pre-chopped drums here. Just from a simple break that every producer's used in their life at least 4 times. Alright, so now we're just going to take our little drums here and we're going to record a new drum loop. It's going to kind of serve as the bass for the rest of what we do here. So no metronome or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of while out and fuck around till I get it. It's pretty nice. That might work. Alright, let's try to loop it up now. So we're just going to do what's called a start and end point, which is pretty self-explanatory. You know, when your loop starts and when it ends. So we're going to set them manually, just kind of using our own human timing, which mine's not very good, but here we go. Probably have to trim the start and end points a little, get it right. Yeah, so you maybe bring it down just a smidge. Just a smidgen. That my favorite mathematic measurement is a smidgen. Alright, there we go. See? That's a drum loop. That works. I'm happy with that for now. Alright, so now we're going to use the same principles of the start and end points to create our chops. So chops will just be little sections of the sample that we, put each individual one on a pad so we can play them in different orders, come up with different timings, manipulate the continuum. Oh god. Alright, so let's get our first one here. So that'll be one little piece. Alright, so now we'll resample that to a new pad by its lonesome. Bring the start point back a little bit, catch that little beginning pluck a little more. That sounds about right. Alright, resample that to a new pad. And now we just kind of keep going like that, do the rest with the others. Alright, so now we got our chops set up. So I've got them set up just kind of, a couple bars in length each one. Or a bar, sorry. So each loop is about a bar long, give or take. Some of them I cut down a little bit. So now we're just going to play around a little bit and see if we can get a good pattern of these, over the drums. Yeah, I kind of like that, just the simple pattern there at the end. We can maybe layer some other weird shit over it. Give the melody stuff a little more depth, but I kind of just like that simple pattern right here. A couple of these chops don't work too well. We might be able to use them later though, so we'll keep them in the mix. Okay, now we are going to attempt to resample that pattern into a new pad. So arm record, and let's hope we don't fuck up. Most of the time when I do something in resample mode, I kind of like to let the loop I record go out to the next kick, and then just stop and start points to reel it into the proper level. If you're a inhuman frisky, if you're a frisky fella, you can or lady or lad, girl, you can, you know, just redo that entire take if you don't get the end record part right. But I'm not I don't have all day to sit here and touch things. I really do, but you know, I'd rather not. Alright, so let's try to reel that in with our start and end points. Okay, so we got our drum loop with the melody now. I don't think we're gonna really need the original percussion anymore, so we're gonna go ahead and get rid of that. I have these drums saved on another bank. I will not miss them. Now we got 3 new pads to work with. I think next it is only logical that we move on to the bass. Adding low end is either my favorite or most hated part of making every beat. Usually my favorite though. I have a lot of fun with bass lines. I've been called the ace of bass by at least one person's grandmother. So today we are going to use the Moog or Moog, as some people say, depending on your level of pretentiousness. Sub-Fatty. This is kind of my go-to on a lot of low end these days. That's just preset, we ain't fucking with that. We got a nice little, just a sub-bass sound. So what we're gonna do is find a few tones of the sub. I might season this a little to taste. We're gonna find a few subtones that fit our loop. So I think I found a couple tones that work with this. Let's test it out real quick. So I think those will kind of work. So now we're just going to record single bass hits down here. So now we'll just kind of have a play around. Have a little play around, see what happens. Alright, so I had a little mess around, came up with a pattern I think sort of works. Let's see. Hold on, let me get my arms right. Something like that, something in that area. So let's go ahead and try to record this again. And hopefully it doesn't all break and destroy itself again. Let's see. Garbage. So, hilariously, I had a good little laugh about this after I broke everything. I got excited and I deleted my loop here, the loop that was with the sample over the drums. And as we established, I deleted a bunch of the samples earlier, so yay me, right? So that's why I like to save some of the past iterations in case I fuck up and have to redo the whole thing again because I'm a stupid idiot. But hey, that's part of beat making. I'm gonna chop these up real quick. I'm gonna get another loopy loop like the one we had before, and I'll get back with you in a second. Okay, after just a few minutes of grief and toil and yelling, we got a loop. We got our loop back. It's actually a little different, I think, but whatever. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna be smart. Function 1, we're gonna copy that shit into another bank just in case I ruin everything again. We can just get the loop right back next time. Alright. Alright. Sometimes I like to record longer pieces like that and just kind of pick through and see which one I didn't ruin and kind of use that one. So we'll go through these, use our start and end points, and hopefully find one that doesn't suck. Okay, so now we got a thing with the sub in it. And I'm not gonna lie, it's not perfect, but the sub's a little too upfront in the mix. I think it'll sound better once we add some post effects and things of that nature. What I want to do first, though, is maybe have a second portion of this where we just have a few more, like a little flourish of something. Usually at this point I'll probably take the beat out of the SP, bring it into Ableton, you know, break out some guitars and synthesizers and shit like that, start layering over. For the purposes of this video, just wanting to use this sample, I think what we're going to do is just take a little reverse chop of this other one. It's just a little section of the other one reversed. And we're going to layer it over this one as sort of a, I don't know, second melody, if you will, little harmony. So, you know, nothing amazing, just a little touch, little titch touch. Alright, so let's record a second pattern here. So here's our loop so far. So we got just drum and melody. With the bass line, and then a second iteration of that. And that's pretty much a beat in my world, but if we were to just leave it at that, it would sound like what we like to call garbage in the music business. So we'll untrashify it a little bit. So I think what we're going to try to do here is to first make that loud bass line a little more transparent, just using MFX 13, and just we're going to take the lows down until the bass is like not nearly as audible. Maybe remove a little bit of the highs from the hi-hat, get it ready for the compression effect. So it's not in there as much anymore. It's affecting the thump of my kick too, but you know, you get a lot of that back when you go, you know, when you compress. Okay, now that we've done that part, I think we're gonna play around with some compression now. So motherfucking effects 12. We will remain on all three of these pads, and I'm gonna kind of just fuck it up real quick. I'm gonna see what it sounds like on a pretty wet level. So pretty obnoxious. So we could fiddle with some of these. What I'm looking for mostly is just a little pump in you know, the way the drums interact with the bass and the sample. I think a lot of us really dig that lo-fi tape-ish sound where you know, the compression was a little wonky and everything sounds a little jarring, but in a good way. Okay, now we're gonna resample again. Resample one more time with the MFX 12 on. And do that for the other pads. So now we got it resampled to the pads with the compression on. One reason I like to EQ before I add the compressor is you can kind of predict which frequencies it's going to distort the most and fuck up. But even afterwards, it always adds a little head splitter melodies. So I'll middle it out, and we'll kind of fiddle with the knobs until we get rid of some of those frequencies we don't like as much. And the fun part about doing it this way is I can hear all sorts of things that I probably should have fixed in the last, you know, effects edits and stuff, but I can't. I just have to keep going along as it is, and there's no looking back when you're making beats with this method. You kind of just have to accept the hand you're dealt and go with it, which is a great excuse for making shitty beats. It's like, yeah, I was resampling, gotta deal with the card I'm dealt. I don't think you deal the card you're dealt. I don't think that's the expression, but you get it. Alright, so we have our chops. They're effects, EQ'd, fixed up. There's a dog by my ankles. Life is good. So let's run through it real quick. You know, that's a beat. Not my best work, but that's the lady luck of the night that was handed. It's something like that. So anyway, this has been O Requests. If you have a suggestion for a beat, leave it in the comments. Email it to me, DM me on Instagram, whatever you have to do. Whatever you have to do to get a hold of me, do it. You can download this beat in a link in the description. Is that called a description? There's a link down there. You can download this beat. Big thanks again for the sample suggestion from everyone's favorite hip-hop fan, Mr. Ronald Folman. Can't thank you enough for that suggestion. You're a hero to us all. And I guess that about does it. See you next time.